Hello, everyone. Today we'll start the laws of Ma'ariv. And to remind you, in the Torah it says, "V'shoch b'cha uvkumecha," which means that you have to say these words when you lie down and when you wake up. And the Gemara at the very beginning of Brachos says that the reason why we start with B'shoch b'cha is because the Jewish day starts in the evening, Vayhi Erev, Vayhi Voker. And so B'shoch b'cha uvkumecha means that these words of the Shema have to be said morning and night. And since it's also repeated in chapter 11 of Deuteronomy, of the second paragraph, which we call Vayayim Shema, and it also says V'shal b'chav kumecha, then the rabbis understood that both passages, both paragraphs have to be said both in the evening and in the morning. So the question arises, which we already touched on a little bit, about the third paragraph of the Shema. And so let's remind ourselves two paragraphs in Pesach Haggadah, which are one after the other, talk about the third paragraph. So the first one is the famous story of Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yoshua, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, Rabbi Akiva, and Rabbi Tarfon, who had a Seder in Bnei Brak. They were telling the story of the Exodus all that night, which seems to be that only that night they were talking about Yetziat Mitzrayim, not every other night of the year. And the story concludes with their students telling them, rabbis, it's time to say the Shema of the morning. So that's not very clear from that paragraph, but the second paragraph is the actual discussion between the rabbis. Do we have to say the third paragraph of the Shema at night? And so Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah said, "Harei ani kivan shirim shana, I'm like 70 years old, I did not merit that the saying of Yetziat Mitzrayim, of the Exodus, is said at night until Ben Zoma learned it. So before we learn what Ben Zoma said, we have to understand why is it a problem to say the third paragraph of the Shema at night. And the reason is because the main mitzvah that is mentioned in chapter 15 of Numbers, just so we can see it here, that's how the paragraph starts. So tzitzit, we know, is only during the day when you can see the difference between the blue string and the white string. And so they understood that if the commandment of tzitzit is only for the day, then it should only be said during the day, meaning in the morning service in Shacharit. But Ben Zoma came and studied the following, that you should remember the day that you came out of Egypt, all the days of your life. So the word all is extra. So Yemei Chayecha are the days. Kol Yemei Chayecha includes the evenings, the night, because again, the word kol, it seems to be redundant. But Chachamim Omrim, they have a different learning, which is Yemei Chayecha is this world, Kol Yemei Chayecha La'avi Lamot HaMashiach, that even in the time of Mashiach, we will remember Yetziat Mitzrayim, and that's a very big philosophical discussion, not for now, but Ben Zoma, not because he was a minority opinion, but because he actually explained this verse, basically the rabbis understood that we must say the third paragraph of the Shema at night, even though it includes the mitzvah of tzitzit, and which does not apply for the night, of course. So that's the introduction, and now we'll understand more about the laws of Ma'ariv and the recital of the Shema. So, the recital of Kriyat Shema commands center stage at the beginning of the Ma'ariv prayer. It is a biblical commandment to recite Kriyat Shema at night and in the morning, like we said, as is written in the paragraphs of Shema and Vayayim Shema, when you lie down and when you get up. It is also a mitzvah to remember the Exodus from Egypt during the day and at night, as it is written in Deuteronomy. Therefore, you will or shall remember the day you left Egypt all the days of your life. From the words all the days, all here is in bold. Kol Yemei Chayecha, Chazal learned that it is a mitzvah to remember the Exodus from Egypt both at day and at night, like we just said in the Haggadah. And that is the actual source for it is the Mishnah in Brachos, chapter 12, Mishnah 2. For that reason, the Vayomer paragraph is also recited at night, since the Exodus from Egypt is mentioned at its end. The Vayomer paragraph, which discusses the mitzvah of tzitzit, primarily applies to the day, And although one can fulfill the nighttime mitzvah of remembering the Exodus from Egypt with other verses, because this verse, for example, is from Deuteronomy 16, not from Numbers 15. So because even though you can do it with other verses, it is customary to remember the Exodus by reciting Vayomer, since these verses are already familiar to all from what we say in the morning prayer. In addition, combined with the first two paragraphs of Shema, it contains 248 words, paralleling the 248 organs in the body, as explained earlier in this book, and also paralleling the 248 commandments that are positive commandments. And by reciting all three paragraphs, one completely accepts upon himself the yoke of heaven. So the first paragraph of the Shema is to accept the idea that Hashem Echad. The second one is that there's reward and punishment for doing or not doing the commandments. And the third one is the belief that Hashem took us out of Egypt and gave us the Torah. And so, again, that's why they made them both parallel and not to start changing verses at night. Of course, the blessing after the Shema, we'll see, is a little bit different, but it also mentions the idea of the miracles of coming out of Egypt. And Sheikh Nesta Gluad, the men of the Great Assembly, added the recital of two brachot before Kriyat Shema and two brachot after it. The first Ma'ariv Aravim is a blessing of praise concerning the passage of time from day to night. So there is a Agadah in Bereshit Rabbah that when Adam and Eve saw nightfall, they thought that the world was coming to an end because they didn't understand what this darkness is, and it was their first day in the world. So we bless Hashem that the fact that He Ma'ariv Aravim, that He brings the night, but He also changes over again in the morning the blessing of light. So the Ma'ariv Aravim is a blessing to praise concerning the passage of time from day to night, and parallels Birkat Yotzer Or and Shacharit. The second, Ahavat Olam, is praise that refers to Hashem's love for Israel and the giving of the Torah. And so, again, that parallels the second blessing in the morning, which is Ahava Rabbah. And the third, Emet Ve'emunah. Oh, by the way, Ahavat Olam at night, everybody agrees that that's how you start the second blessing. In the morning, Ashkenaz custom is to say Ahava Rabbah, and Sephardi and Sephardi custom is to say Ahavat Olam. Again, probably because we're paralleling everything and we don't want to confuse people. The third, Emet Ve'emunah, is praise about the redemption. And we already talked about Emet V'Yatziv in the morning and Emet Ve'emunah in the evening. Just to remind ourselves, Emet V'Yatziv means that our belief in Hashem is as clear as day. Emet Ve'emunah is the fact that at night, when it's dark, we still have the faith in God that He will take us out of this darkness and bring us light and redeem us. And so it's based more on Emunah, that true faith in Hashem, that even though something is not clear and it looks dark and it looks scary, and a lot of people are scared of the dark, even if they're adults, it's you just have to stand in guard at 4 o'clock in the morning, and you hear a tiny little twig break, and you jump through the roof, basically. So Emet Ve'emunah is praise about the redemption. And the fourth, Hashkivenu, we ask Hashem to protect us at night and watch over us when we sleep. See also earlier in this book. Hence, Birkot Kriyat Shema are comprised of 7 blessings total, 3 in Shacharit and 4 in Ma'ariv. And the Yerushalmi brings a beautiful verse to explain why we have 7 blessings. So the rabbis, obviously, after instituting these 7 blessings, quoted this verse in Brachot chapter 1, Halacha 5, states that they were instituted based on the verse in Psalms, Sheva Bayom Hilalticha, which means I will praise you, or I praise you every day 7 times. And so we'll stop here, stop the recording.